Hey guys. All right, let's get this going here. Hey guys, welcome to another episode of All Bass Creations, Effects, Tutorials, Demos, and Review. So what we got going on today, we just kind of going through, just kind of comparing some of the ToneX stuff, some of the presets. And mind you, all of these presets will be available to you guys soon. But one of my biggest things with the hope you guys can hear me good. Hold up 1 second. All right, that way I ain't gotta stress out. But one thing, let me turn this amp off real quick. So we're gonna go ahead and hop over to this right here. Over to the pedal board here. And as you can see, the ToneX is on. This is just my bass. I'll give you the tone I had in the beginning. Right, so that's the bass, but then you kick on that ToneX. And what I'll do this real quick so you can hear a little better. ToneX. Now I happen to have that exact setup right here available with this smaller pedal board, and that tone there is actually just the color box and the Gensler Magellan Pre. So let's do a little quick comparison. So, just right there, that is extremely close, and, pretty much spot on. If you're in a live setting, nobody's going to be able to hear the difference between the ToneX and that there. So, it's more so a thing of what you personally prefer. Now, do I still feel like um, the original circuit is, um, the original pedals are better? Still, yes. So if I'm in the studio or something like that, like, because I already own these pedals, you know, I would just use the pedal. But sorry about that, guys. Got a little tangled up there. But using that's the same thing. It's going to be the same thing right there. But let's go through some of the other tones things like this. Now, one thing I used to love about TC Electronic, they used to have this sound. This is a great copy of my BH. I used to have the original TC Electronic BH 500, right? And it's one of my favorite little amps, And it always gave you that that real hi-fi modern bass sound to it, which definitely like when you using that tone with an amp, it's really big and it's really bright. Like I'll give you a quick example. Oh, forgot I got this mic on. So it just has its own sound to it. But, you know, that particular bass head is like 30 pounds. I'm not carrying no 30-pound bass head no more. That's dead. That's done. It's over with. Will never happen again. You know, but for me to carry this, the other cool thing about the ToneX too, you still have your IRs. Like I have my custom IRs loaded up on here, so oh, I think I just locked it. Hold on, I gotta unlock it real quick. That's the only other thing I kind of love. Oh, come on. This ain't a pain in the behind to unlock. Come on. Thing. There we go. So you got your compression on here as well. Then you get that real amp type sound in there. Oh yeah, we not doing karaoke hours. So yeah, if you got questions pertaining to what we talking about, sure. Yeah, I ain't really doing requests. I don't do the karaoke hour stuff. So Oh, I wasn't referring to what you commented, Travis. It was I'm referring to the first one of the other comments. But I definitely appreciate all y'all chiming in, hanging out with me. Don't ever get that twisted, you know. I always appreciate all y'all hanging out with me. Yeah. But so yeah, and this is with the IR on, so you can really get that ant feel. And what I do real quick is let's take it to so without the IR. And if you really wanted to make it feel like a room, a little bit more, you also have the option to add a little bit of reverb in So one thing I found is what's going on, folks. Appreciate everybody chiming in. If all y'all can hit that like button for me wherever you are, I definitely would appreciate that. And like I said, all these sounds that I'm going through and different things are going to be available on the Patreon, along with all the 11 packs that's already on there and everything else. So and see that really gets you that amp, that cabinet sound, in there. That's one of the main reasons. I do like the ToneX one, and I can always choose to just turn it off globally. So I can just turn the IRs off globally. Right? And then we got no cabinet. One thing I would prefer is to be able to blend that a little bit, the IR and the actual DI out of like the preamp. But unfortunately, they don't have that option yet. Hopefully, that's something they can update and as an option. But if not, it's not the end of the world because ultimately, the sound engineer is going to do the rest of what they want to do with your sound anyway. So just like the IRs for, especially when I'm running in ears, and you know, it definitely helps out for me to have that, like, have it sit the same way I'm used to hearing it live, you know. And that's just another version of the color box and the Magellan. Here's the first one. And let's see what else we got here. We got the BH Ampeg what is it? The BA 210 V2. Same amp, just flat. This is another version of the color box and Magellan, just with the curve A, which is more of like a slap and pop curve. So we'll do a quick comparison between the two. Guess we can start with the originals. So as you can see, they pretty much the ToneX is pretty much spot on there. So I wouldn't, you know, to be honest, if you're on a budget, just get the ToneX one. Just get it, and it's gonna have better amp models than any of the multi effects at that level for sure. And I would say the ToneX tone models are hard to beat in general. Like, I mean, I think they're personally better than all the other ones I've heard on the other units, that do the same modeling type thing. For me, the ToneX get to as close as possible. Like, I'm not really hearing, once they're volume matched, I'm not really even hearing a difference in the weight of the sound. Like. Yeah, so I'm just hearing, it's I would even say the ToneX One version even has a little extra clarity to it, you know. ToneX One, analog. So, it's the ToneX One just, I mean, every time I do these comparisons with the actual analog counterparts, it's like, man, for what you can do with this little tiny box and the amount of spot on copies you can just carry with you at once, which is 20. You're not using 20 amps in the show. Like, who's really using 20 amps in one show? Like, EQ different, you're gonna drive the sound techs crazy. Like, pick 3 sounds and roll with that for the majority of your show is what I would typically recommend in terms of amps. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can change effects and, different overdrives and all this extra stuff. But the switch amps and EQ, like drastic EQ changes and things like that in terms of the bass sounds, the actual bass sound, that can get kind of annoying for a sound engineer. And yes, we always constantly, adjusting our EQ and stuff throughout the show, tiny bits, but not like super drastically to the point where it's like, you hear how different preamps can be. That's actually the same one, so that's not gonna be much different. But here's like the Aguilar color box running into the Aguilar AG preamp. Let's bring this TC Electronic. Whole different sound. Gensler. AG. AG with the bright switch. Bring that up. Color box into the SGT. SGT with the B15 plus the color box. So as you can hear, like that, this is, well, that I switched to the SVT side of the SGT with the color box. Push the gain on that as well, and it is accurate with the gain as well. now just it actually responds with the gain as well, like the actual amount of the gain staging of the amp preamps is modeling as well. So, and that's amazing. That is great because then you actually getting multiple tones out of things like that, or even out of the BH500 when you turn on the use one of the tube drive settings, and say I'm using this one. But all I did there was change the gain. So when I brought the gain up, I took the master volume down just to compensate for the volume, and vice versa. When I brought the gain down to let the sound clean up a little more, I brought the master volume up more. So put that back because I do have mine. Mine does auto save. Something like that. But even when you choose a milder setting, if it breaks up at all, and again, all this is just sit right in the pedal. You ain't gotta go and do nothing else once it's in there. This is one of my color box settings. I'll try to emulate the settings on here real quick. Well, actually, no, because this will be coloring it. Only thing I don't like about the Gensler Magellan Pre is instead of having a bypass switch, they did a mute switch, and that's cool and all, but I would have rather had a bypass switch, as in most times it's going to be used in the pedal board form situation for me. So having it do mute is kind of redundant because I'm running it into an amp that I can usually mute it from, or I just would rather be able to bypass it because otherwise it's always on. And now while it is very transparent and it doesn't have to super color your sound, I would like to have a bypass switch. And that's another reason why the ToneX one would be great. I'll probably be taking these two preamps off and putting the ToneX one on this smaller pedal board. This is my main bass gigging pedal board right here. And that way it will of course give me more flexibility with more preamps, but I'll still have access to these actual sounds. But I wanted to try these sounds out. I wanted to try these EQs out live before I like kind of solidified that that's what I would use for the pack, because this is my actual church gig sound, with that all together. So, it makes for interesting. It cuts through. It's very warm, and it's a big sound, and that's something that I'm hoping it will translate when I take the ToneX one and put it on this pedal board and use it like that. Because I am using an analog. The Empress compressor has a nice, beautiful sound to it, and so does my 1176 into LA 2A sound I have built into the Atlas compressor. So, those add their own thing to it. But let me see something real quick. Still got my straight up color box sound on here as well. Like I said, well, another thing to point out is, when you get where the ToneX one will work out better for a lot of you guys than trying to go after the analog preamps. If you're on a budget, or if you're one of those people who really like to experiment with different preamp sounds and different sounds like that, and texture wise, the ToneX one is just going to give you so much more flexibility than any of these analog ones will individually. Like even things like there's a Laney Digbeth pack on there as well on my Patreon for the ToneX one. So currently you got the Aguilar AG preamp, you got the Little Mark III Mark Bass preamp on there. You also have the Ampeg BA 210 V2 preamp. You got the Magellan, Gensler Magellan. You got the Ampeg SGT. You got the Eden WTDI. You got the Harkey TX 600. You have the Gensler Shuttle 9 that is actually sitting right there in the back. What else is on there? Oh God, I don't know. I actually have a Galley and Kruger pack I never released, and I probably would do that too. So you're gonna get a bunch of new packs with combination packs. So the new packs I'm going to come out with is a lot of what you're hearing now. These combinations of the color box running into whatever preamp, so color box plus the Magellan, color box plus the SGT, color box plus the AG, so forth and so on. Just because the color box adds a nice firmness to a sound. I can give you a quick example so you can actually No, why would you even need to run a preamp into another preamp? It's because we're doing music and we do stuff because it sounds good, not because it makes sense. Always remember that. This is music. We don't do stuff because it makes sense. We do stuff because it sounds good, okay? If it gets you the sound you want, that's all you need to know. So here's the Magellan by itself. Bring that. With the color box. Did I have this drop in volume? All right, we good. So, you know, it's a very subtle thing. Let's take this EQ curve off of there. And let's flatten this out. So, you know, there's a little bit more apparent once I took off the Gensler, the Magellan's EQ. Like, pretty much just put that flat. That's the other thing I do love about the Magellan. It is super transparent. The Magellan and the Aguilar AG are really transparent amps, as well as the color box. Both of these are really kind of like transparent when you're not pushing them, but the color box adds a bit of firmness to the sound. You know, even with the EQ flat, I can put the EQ flat on the Magellan and it's on the color box, and it's still going to give you add a little something for you. So, let me mute this mic a little bit. So even flat, it adds a little something, but add a little bit of that EQ in there. Compared to my bass by itself. If I wanted to do like just my bass by itself. This is when the Magellan's flat. Bass. Notice how it's super important that you just start with a good sounding bass. Like that is probably one of the most important things I would say. Start with get your bass to sound the way you want it to sound. So, you definitely getting with that color box and that Magellan. It's just a beautiful pair. But having all that tucked away in something that is smaller than the palm of my hand, when you can see the Magellan is about the size of my hand. I can fit probably two ToneX ones in my hand. I can barely put two ToneX ones on this board and have stereo amps, or I could run TSR out of here and have stereo amp as well. But it's just amazing, and that's something else you can't do with these two pedals. So if I wanted to run like a stereo version of this sound, I can't do it from this pedal setup with just the analog pedals themselves. But with the ToneX one, I can run where that thing at? It's just a TRS splitter. It just splits the sound basically into left and right instead of mono. Matter of fact, let's go ahead and do that while we on camera. I got some time for a second. Let's go and just change this over to the ToneX one, and we'll take these off of this pedal board and we'll move the ToneX one over here, which also frees up another power slot, and that gives me four. I think I got four additional spots left. Let me see, 1, 2. So that would actually allow me to add like a few more pedals to the setup. So, hey, why not do that now? All right, let's go. So we're gonna mute the pedal board, and then we're going to essentially. All right, here we go. Hopefully, let me see, make sure y'all can still see pretty good what I'm doing here. Oh, that made it real dark. All right. We actually can do this with this on, so I don't like to do it this way. This is my least favorite way of doing anything with the power on. Y'all make sure y'all hit that like button as well. You know, I definitely appreciate all y'all hanging out with me. Make sure y'all hit that like button, subscribe, all that good stuff. And like I said, check out the Patreon for all my different presets for all these different pedals and stuff that you're looking at here. So, so those are the two that we need off. That way we keep the lights on. All right, so right now this pedal board is going Empress compressor into deep freeze. No, Empress compressor into the future impact, into the deep freeze, into the MS-60B plus, and into the color box Magellan pre, into the Atlas compressor. So let's start. Let's get this out of here. All right. So we're gonna take this off. This is, as you can see, it's pretty big, like, you know, compared to what we're gonna be putting in its place. This is the size difference. So let me switch screens here. This is the difference in size. Two, let me see. One, two, three. You can almost fit 4 ToneX ones for the size of this Magellan pre. And that's not a slight on this because this is analog, premium analog circuitry. But no need for you, you know, get you a ToneX one, holler at my packs, take right care of you. All right, so we'll put this down here for now. And we'll take the color box off too, because I want to use this for something else like my mic, you know. And again, we're not taking these off because they're bad pedals. You know, they just take up a lot of space. And if you're working with a small, this like 14 by 8, little small pedal board, teeny tiny pedal board, you know, you don't want to use all your real estate on preamps like this size, which I do love this. I love these preamps, the SGT, all these, you know, they're amazing. It's just, when we talk about practicality and me being able to get pretty much the same sound out of this as this at this and this, you know, this is a lot of real estate. This is a lot of real estate. They pretty much about the same size when you turn them on their side. So I probably could get, let me see, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, about 3 ToneX on here. 1, 2, 3. About 3.5. About 3 on here, so it's about the same. These about the same length, yeah. Well, actually, the Magellan's a little bigger, just slightly a little bigger. So like 3.5 on this, another 3 on here in terms of these mini pedals. So that's how much real estate I was saved by sacrificing really nothing. When in a mix, no one be able to tell the difference between the two. I can guarantee you that they won't be. It's that close. Even outside of the mix, you can. I can't even tell if I was blindfolded. I can't honestly say I would be able to tell the difference between the two. Without some clue there. So we're gonna take these off, and we're gonna replace these two plus all these other the SGT, the Eden, all that's on here. Every amp head I've ever owned or owned in this room, at least since I've had this, is on here. Plus some ones I took from other places like the Gallon Kruger. Never owned that one, but I went and they had one at the church, so I made a pack at the church with it. They also had another amp of it was something else I did up there as well. But yeah, this joint is definitely the way to go in terms of building your pedal boards. $179 comes with 4 different pieces of software, including amplitude and everything else. So that it makes it a very valuable piece of gear. So let's put these. Let's put these down here. And I haven't decided what else I'm gonna put on here in that space as well. I really want that future impact to fit a little better. Hmm. Yeah, I'm just gonna redo all the wiring because it just would make more sense. So we're gonna gotta kind of pretty much take this whole board apart. I would prefer that this deep freeze be down here, just because it's something that I need to press all the time. The Empress, I don't really press as much. So sorry about that, guys. Awesome. So yeah, one of the I'm just making sure we still up and running, guys, cause feel free to ask me questions about the pedal board and how, what I'm doing if you don't understand it. All right, cool. Yeah, I'll have to show the hog 2 another time, bro. That's not even on the agenda, nowhere near the agenda today. But all my ambient afternoon stuff, and there's tons of videos of me using the hog 2 on my channel. So you're not, you know, you're not missing out. There's plenty on there. You just gotta go and find them. Right now, we're rebuilding the pedal board around the ToneX one instead of these bulkier preamps. So here comes the part where you gotta make some decisions, cause um I could throw the Enzo X on there and just call it a day. And that would be actually a little fire pedal board. That's a ton of different sounds right there. Um, hmm, that is But then I can't run in stereo. Oh, I can run in stereo. I can't run my amp stereo though. It just depends. So stuff like this where you kind of just making decisions. So like I'm trying to fill in this space here with something. Let me unplug this because I don't want that red one, that 18 volts that the Gensler was running on. I don't want that to run into anything else accidentally. So make sure all that's disabled. I really feel like I should put, hmm, I really feel like I should put this, um, hmm, I could either put like the Plethora X1 on there or, I don't use the Plethora X1 enough to put it there. Maybe the MS-70 CDR Plus, maybe. This is where it kind of gets like you kind of get indecisive when you have so many options. I don't really. I would rather use the Future Impact than use the synth bass sounds than to try to use the Octaverse at the moment. I've been using more of the Future Impact sounds, so that's why I'm not even considering. I got a Poly Blue down there as well and a OC5. So gotta make a decision because I already told my board apart. Uh, I guess we could run the Enzo X in mono. But this joint takes up a lot of real estate too. Now this would save me a lot of real estate. I could come out of the. I actually could come out of this ToneX One stereo. Put this here. What if I take this? So I'm just gonna unplug everything and then just redo it. It's just some few zip ties and stuff like that. But it'll make planing this a little bit easier. Because right now I'm trying too much to keep it intact instead of doing what would be most efficient space wise. Can't always keep it exactly intact that way. So let's get this popping. And again, feel free to ask any questions. I'll do what I can. Can't show you the hog too, unfortunately, or not really. Can't really do any pedal demonstrations at the moment. I'm just trying to plan out this little board here. But if you want to go back and catch the main topic, that could, you know, let's see, we put that there. I don't even know if I really need this MS-60B Plus right here. Only thing I would use it for is like overdrive or something like that. Maybe an envelope filter. I was mostly using it for the reverb and delay, but I don't really need it because if I'm gonna put the Enzo X on there, and I don't need this on there. So unfortunately, it's getting kicked off the board. All right, so that freed up another space or something. I could just go ahead and make this like a crazy synth bass board. For real, add that C4 synth on there and just roll with that. Mm, it's really not that bad of an idea. But if I just don't. This is the dilemmas I run into. I could put the C4 synth, but I like to use some of them Spectrum filters. But then I'd have to sacrifice a few slots on here for it to be a filter. It's the issues you run into. But at least we're heading towards stereo, right? We're heading towards the stereo situation because luckily the Atlas compressor is also stereo, you know, 2 ins, 2 outs. The Enzo X is stereo, Future Impact is mono, Deep Freeze is mono. So is the Empress compressor. So I hope this is all making sense to y'all. I'm just that's just how I process things doing it this way. And we can leave that like that. Bam. Come the Enzo X a little bit up like that. I promise I don't use the C4 synth enough. And if I choose to use the MXR layers instead of the deep freeze, it's going to be it's going to be even more on there. So make sure if you haven't already, hit that like button. You know, like I say again, we just kind of making some decisions about this pedal board here. Got the Enzo X. Hmm. Hmm. That Plethora X1 is like does have like my favorite Corona chorus on there, and my favorite vibrato pedal is on there as well. Plus, very nice reverb and. I don't think the C4 Simp gonna make this one. For one, I need a pedal that has a good octave up on it. That's not quite the size of that Hog 2. So OC5 might make that cut right there. And then I just kind of need, could use a filters on here. I want to use some different filters. So, I still could get this. Well, the ToneX one's got to go. ToneX one's got to go on there. So come into the Empress. From the Empress, we'll come into so Empress into OC5, OC5 into Future Impact into the Deep Freeze into the ToneX 1. Put this on the end. And this gives me quite a bit of room here. Up there so I can reach it a little better. Really, once you come out the Future Impact, going into Deep Freeze into the ToneX 1. ToneX 1 can become stereo. Yeah, that can become stereo. When you take this, which got the two ends, the TRS to TS, two TS cables. Let me see. There ain't no real point of coming out the ToneX 1 stereo for real, in this particular application, because I'm not using any of the modulations or reverbs or anything like that in there. So I'm gonna depend on the Enzo X for that type of stuff. Like that. Bam, bam. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. What we got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Got 8 slots. That means I got one more um, pedal I can add in there somewhere. This is always interesting, just making these types of decisions, because I have to kind of think ahead for different gigs and different things I may want to do. I think I might go with this plethora X1 on here, for real, for real. I kind of want to have this. Mm, I kind of want to run this after the um, Atlas compressor is what I'm thinking about. Just so it's because if I decide to use this as, if I decide to use the shimmer reverb in here, which I really like, well, it should be fine. It's just, it should be fine. Have this at the end of the chain. Have this go into. For real, man. This is kind of a, this is kind of like an always on pedal that I really don't fool with too much. I really think it might be better for me to just stick it if there's room under here. Nah, ain't no room under there. It's too small. Almost had a new idea. Almost had it popping. Input come out of there, and then the output would be right there. That's cool. Mm-mm-mm. Days go by, there's no bigger love than the family. Oh, come on, man. I'm definitely need my Empress compressor on here. I ain't playing about that. I need at least my that one. My compressors are super important to me. In addition to the preamps, the compressors I use, I really enjoy how they make things sit in the mix. That's even more space. I still gotta put in the power plugs. That's not quite enough space. So playing pedalboard Jenga right now, guys. for my. I've completely just destroyed my pedal boy setup here. Not destroyed it, but you know, taking it apart pretty much. Just trying to get this to fit here. Let's see, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I'm gonna have this hang off just a little bit. Something like that. Skadoosh. Oosh. And bam. And hopefully that's enough room with the cables. I still got a little bit of this Enzo X here hanging off. About that much. About a pinky's worth. About 2 fingers. 1.5 fingers on there. So about like that much. It's hanging off. You gotta make some sacrifices sometimes. It ain't always gonna be pretty. Sometimes it's about getting it done. Mm-hmm. And the reason I want this Empress compressor stays on, Atlas compressor stays on, but these ones are come in and out. All the other pedals come in and out at different points, times. So I think this makes the most sense. Because I only can choose 8 pedals for this, you know, power wise. Unless I use some 18-volt pedals, and then I could squeeze in up to 10. But not on this pedal board. I'm pushing it now with the space, as you can see. Still trying to play pedal jing and see what else I can squeeze out of here if I can. This is interesting. Okay. So what I'm thinking is that's the input. So we come into this Empress compressor, come out of here into the OC5, then into the Future Impact, into the Deep Freeze, then the ToneX 1, into the Plethora X1, Enzo X. I really want to reverse these two. I want this to be afterwards. It's always interesting trying to figure this out. I'm trying to think would I even be using those at the same time. Because typically the solo sounds I have in the Enzo X have they already have their own thing with them. So it's, you know, they already have their own reverb and stuff, but not always delay. But at least their own reverb. I can't necessarily interject this there. problem really is how I'm gonna figure out the rest of the rest of the stuff. That's like putting this board back together. What am I gonna add to that, or you know, what am I gonna do with that? Because I do got a bunch of the analog filters, like got the bass balls, the MXR bass analog filter down here, Ravis Sitar, the V256 vocoder as well. The Key 9 Mel 9 ain't gonna necessarily make it for this application. But I don't know. I don't even consider the H1 for stuff like this. The HX1, the Line 6 HX1. I like the reverbs in there, and that's primarily what I use it for. So, and uh, it's interesting. So, Empress OC5, Future Impact, into the Deep Freeze, and the ToneX. Into the Enzo X, then Plethora X1 into the Atlas. That just makes more sense to me. So, all right. Other cool thing about pedal boards, they do not always have to be in the exact order that you use them. You just got to know what you're doing and what's where. Hmm. This just looks off to me. I don't know. Having it over there looks off to me. But having that like that and this like this, I'm gonna have to scoot this over a bit. That looks better to me for some reason. And I know that's kind of just being a little picky, but just looks a little better. But this got to come over because I need some space. And then, but that just looks better to me. You know, let's see. I don't know why I'm just debating on this OC5 so much. Like I don't even understand why. I'm not comfortable with it. I really wish I could have my Hog 2 with me, but Hog 2, you know, those are hard to find now. So I would rather leave that home. Just the same way I would rather leave these analog preamps at home. Just because why should I take $3,000 worth of stuff to a gig, you know, and the gig's paying five, six, seven, $800. You know, I'm not trying to take $1 million worth of gear with me. Um, yeah, I think this the configuration now I pretty much go with. So that'll mean all right. Let's start trying to wire things up here a bit. So let's unplug this power. Need some wire cutters. These. Hmm. Mm-mm. Dee-dee-doo-dee. Let's see what we got here. So right now, all I'm doing is undoing a bunch of zip ties. Really, let me grab some pliers because I probably can reuse these zip ties. All right. See if we can undo these zip ties. Nope. Gonna have to cut them loose. Right. Definitely want to use as many of these pancake jacks. So these pretty much the two types of jacks I use. As you can see this. Use this this right angle one that's a little thicker at the tip, and then a pancake one which is a little wider, but it's thinner. So these pancake ones will definitely be used for like stuff like the ToneX one and all that stuff. Those, see this to that. We need one to go from here to there. So, yep. Okay, we got power there. Power there. Power. This should be power for that. I'm gonna need this over here. Power. Power there. Atlas. It's powered. Enzo X got power. Plethora X1 power. those three. There's one. Let me take this off. There's one. Power cables. Power cables. What else we need? Power these three. And all this is being powered by a MXR ISO brick, by the way. Right. Power there. Need a little pancake jack. No one of these. And this going to no. Nah, this gonna go here. Use one of these longer ones. Come over here to the input of the Future Impact from the OC5. Then from the Future Impact, we're gonna hop back over to the deep freeze. Right, and might want a longer one here just so I can come underneath the board out of the ToneX one, send it straight down. Down there. Gonna be a tight fit, but it's gonna fit. Hey, what's going on, Laurie? Appreciate you. Stop and pass. Okay. Let's see. This. Bam. All right. We're getting there, folks. We're getting there and then out of there. I'll run stereo out of there to the Plethora X1. So I need two cables that can come down underneath here and come out here. Gotta be long enough. Yep, that'll be fine. This one should be, hopefully be fine. This one's a little shorter. Might grab another one. Grab a different one, a little longer. All right. Hopefully this. I don't think this one's gonna be long enough for this. I gotta get something else. Mm. Yeah. That's just simply not going to work. Oh. Oh. This'll work. All right. Do 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 do. Go in there. See what I'm saying? That's the hard part. Once you get these plugs in there. Mm. See, now that's too much off the pedal board, so I may have to let go of the Plethora X1. I don't know that it's going to make the pedal board. Boop. Maybe not. I might could put pedal here, like this. Interesting. I have it here, and you can't have that at all. So, see. Problem right now is I don't have no Velcro. But where there's a will, there's a way. Take this off. I should put them outputs. All right, we almost there, folks. Hey, getting there. Beautiful. So I got two really short ones. Going to run from there. In fact, let's make this one. Here it is. It's always something. Oh no, I'm launching. Please go to the inputs. Gonna work. Yeah. Damn. BEA beautiful. Put that like that. About the way. No, it's in the way. Be like that. And we got the two outputs there. Okay. So still got access to that yet. So this what we got so far. We haven't strapped anything. Come here. This. Hey, what's up, babe?
Hey, baby.
So, man, not the prettiest pedal board I ever made. Definitely a different, unique type of situation. Mm, so, I think this will work. So, I'll do an episode tomorrow where I go back through this and just um, tighten it down and everything. I actually got to get ready to go, guys. But I definitely appreciate you guys hanging out with me. Um, building a pedal board isn't really that difficult. You just got to be patient with it. And as you can see, pretty much I'm destroying my whole setup up here, putting together the smaller board down here. But we'll get it back together. And next time I'll probably go through putting back different pieces of that, use that. So, but this has been another episode of All Bass Creations, Effects, Tutorials, Demos, and Review. I definitely appreciate all y'all hanging out with me. You want to find me on social media is at the Bass Negus, Negus. If you want to find me on Bandcamp, it's allbasscreations.bandcamp.com, and check out my Patreon if you want to support the channel, or if you want any of my presets for various pedals and different things like that. All right, you guys have a good one. Peace.